So this week we're still discussing the elections have come and gone. We read a press release from the president-elect saying that we must begin healing. And we also saw in the papers that our governor, Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, has gone back to work, where he's there inspecting the red line, which he promises that would begin before May 29th. So our conversation, therefore, is what are our expectations? So for the governorship elections that have been announced across Nigeria, the new governors and the re-elected governors, what are our expectations? What are those things, aside from infrastructure development? How do we begin that journey of healing, which has been declared by the president-elect? What are your thoughts on it? If you can call us from all over the country, especially concerning your state in particular, or whatever state you reside in or you're concerned about, the numbers on your screen, what exactly should be the agenda for the new government that's starting from May 29th? The numbers are 081-270-536-8709-139-076-948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourView TVC so we can read your tweets. How do we begin that journey of reconciliation? Going by what you said during the paper review, that Ojuzo Kalu is saying that he deserves to be Senate president, and that's because he believes that he has paid his dues, and he used the same Asiwaju's tactic when he went to Ogun State. He said, he also came out to say, listen, he has worked, and he's a Christian, he's from the Southeast, and it's only right for someone like that to be picked. So these are some of the rhetorics we're hearing on how to show equity across the nation. What are your thoughts, especially on me? I'm not sure which state you're concerned about, but either state, Lagos, Edo, whatever state, what should be the agenda?
I really wish we had the new governor in Edo so I can release agenda.
So let's start with Lagos then.
Let's start with Lagos. But let me just finish on Ojuzo Kalu's, his pedigree. Yes. So he's been in the Senate for so long and he's played the politics. So one of the criticisms against Obi was that, he didn't play the politics. He just jumped on Labour Party, and the Southeast have not played the politics. But Ojuzo Kalu stands out among the Southeasterners in politics. He's always played the politics. He's always known which party has the influence and the chances to go there. He stuck to his own party. He contested in Abia North on the platform of the APC. He was able to get re-elected. He's stayed the time, and he's one of the highest ranking. If you look at the Senate right now, he's the chief whip. He's always, stayed there. I think if you look at those contesting right now, Senator Akpabio, Senator Ojuzo Kalu stands out. Then when we now bring the sentiments that, some of these divisiveness that we talk about here, is a Southeasterner, full blood. He's an experienced senator. And, it's a Milocon time. He's an Milocon time. So I'd really love to see him as a senator. But for Lagos, one of the things that I would love that Governor Sanwo-Olu starts to do with immediate effect is starting to go to those areas where there were so much grievances about him, talk about, address some of the issues raised, any credible one, because some of them were highly emotional. I didn't agree with all. But I live in Amuo, and the Amuo Odofin people are the ones loudest. Them, Ojo, the Jeromi, Ifelodun areas. And Etiosa. So they, for whatever reason, think he doesn't deserve to be in office. And some of the reasons are infrastructural. And we know that he's busy across the states, so it would be nice to finish up all the projects that are ongoing. Some of them are on standstill. The Old Ojo Road, for instance, they've been on standstill for a while. They were working very fast before the end of last year, and suddenly there's a stop on things. I see that they are still breaking the roads, but the areas that they have put concrete, there are other parts left. I'm talking of the Old Ojo from Ilekpo bus stop in was my estate. And so those are the things that they should speed up and complete, so that at least the infrastructure, just as he spoke to me, will speak to the other aggrieved parties. And I'll take the others later.
So what are your thoughts, Miriam, on this? What do you think the governor should do first? What are the first things you think he should?
For me, I think what he has to do first is address this divisiveness that we saw towards the elections. The negative, and for me, it was not truthful, rhetorics about the Yoruba-Igbo relationship. We know that conversation was just a political conversation. There's no how that is the reality of Lagosians living in Lagos. I mean, how many families in Lagos you have a Yoruba father, an Igbo mother, a Yoruba mother, an Igbo father? I mean, you see people with 3 names in Lagos State.
Muslim, Christian,
you know, Christians and Muslims. So I think this is the time to sit down. Although I know that the LP candidate is saying that he'll go to court, but whenever that is done, it would be nice to see them shake hands and just push and just realize that they're all together. They were all trying, running for office for the interest of Lagosians, and that whoever it is that is going to be governor now, they will work with him to make sure that Lagosians, you know, interests are paramount, foremost on the agenda. It's also important to understand that even if you're not the one in government, you have a role as an opposition to keep an eye. You're the one that will call out everything that is missed and everything. So for that, what you do is that you put the administration on its toes to do the best for Lagos. And people will also look at the opposition and judge you based on what you did as opposition. No longer should we be running, you know, you disappear in 4 years and then you come out and then in trying to garner support, you now start sowing seeds of discord. I would like to see that change over time. Nigeria is getting smaller and smaller. We're intermarried generations over generations. You can count great-grandparents who are from different tribes in Lagos State and even across Nigeria. So this conversation that we have during election period should mean nothing, should not be something that comes up. So if he would have, you know, sometimes we sit down, round table, we have a conversation, we have representative in different parts of government administration from different tribes or different factions, that will help to push that conversation of unity in Lagos.
Let me come to you, BC. I mean, just like she said, those town hall meetings are great. They are nice. But you see, my worry is that, I think Nima always says that, it's only who, you can do all these things. But if I choose not to listen to you, I choose not to listen to you. So what do you think he needs to do, especially for mind transformation? Because these things don't happen just by one press conference or one town hall meeting or one visit. These are things that take time. So what can the government of Lagos State and other governments also begin to do to change the thinking and to earn back trust?
He has a lot on his hands or on his table right now, from what I see, because it's not very easy changing the mindset of full-blown adults. It's not, like you mentioned, just one conference or one town hall meeting and you expect everybody will just accept what you have said. It's important that this is the time to play the elder brother, right? This is the time to play the father. This is the time to put all pride aside, all ego aside, and wear on the cloak of humility and go down to those interior places, those aggrieved, like Miriam mentioned some of those, Nima mentioned some of those areas. Go down to those areas and hear them out. This is the time to listen. And they will not accept you immediately, but you need to be dogged about it. You need to be consistent about it. You need to appeal to their senses and their logic, because the truth about the matter is we all want a greater Lagos. We all want a greater Nigeria. We're all here to thrive and do businesses. And you need to, when I mean present logic, you need to put everything on the table. If we do not have a conducive environment, your businesses will not thrive. So we need to work together. And no matter how they reject you first time, second time, keep showing up in their faces to get them to understand. You have a lot of work to do on that part. And I pray that you have the wisdom. Your team also will have the wisdom to, get these people together. And also apologize, A lot of people felt aggrieved that they were disenfranchised. They were not given an opportunity to cast their votes because some people were flogged away, some people were, beaten away based on the false rhetoric that some people are saying something in that corner. It's time for you also to apologize on behalf of those people who flogged them, whether you sent them or not, so that it seems like you're coming or not. It seems like you have to go there genuinely from a place of truth, that I am here to work for a greater Lagos and I need your support to be able to do that because it's going to benefit us all at the long run.
If we say humility, do you feel that humility is on both sides?
Oh,
so
of course.
the governor can say, yes, I'm coming with that, but so the recipient must also be willing to come to the table. You know what? Okay, yes, there were rhetorics of division, but we are also willing, because it's not sometimes when the leader constantly comes down, sometimes people take advantage of it and it can cause a ripple effect. So we're saying that, is it possible that we also need the people too?
Of course.
To understand and come forward. You know what? I'm willing to have a conversation.
Yes,
These are my grievances.
Wait. They're going to get there, but the leader will have to lead them there. So when somebody is upset and fuming, they don't, at that time that the adrenaline is pumping, you're not applying logic. So it will take you a bit of time to simmer down and have an understanding. So is the leader willing to be patient for them to simmer down? That's where the point is. So, of course, at some point, we expect that you, Seth, you're living in this place, you want it to work now, you have to calm down and listen. But at the time that the tempers are rising and fuming, can the leader be a bit more patient? That's why some people will say, we can move the conversation and wait a bit. We can wait it out. So that's why I ask also that God gives him wisdom to know when to go and when to step back, to know when to wait it out and when to push. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
So one of the things I know from experience is that when Nigerians see their leader, they are in love with him.
Yes.
I was fortunate to be on the inspection of the Oworoshoki Expressway with the Minister for Works and Housing on a particular tour, and we stopped at the beggar market. I was shocked to know that some people had gone ahead to tell the market men that, you know, the minister was on tour of the construction of the road, and the way they humbly came out. And, you know, Babatunde Raji Fashola, the former governor, as he is, he stepped out, stood amongst the people. I stood in a distance and I watched. They were in awe of him. They argued on why the parks in Lagos, he was saying, these are our recreational parks. They cannot be marketplaces. And the people wanted it to be a marketplace. So they engaged each other, but there was no rancor. There was extreme respect from how they spoke to him. So I can be rest assured that the moment the present governor, Sanwo-Olu, steps a foot in the trade fair or Alaba market, nobody will attack him. They will be in respect of him. Because what they want is inclusiveness. They want to see him, not only during elections, but they want to see him regularly, seeing to their issues in the market. Whenever campaigns come, we see opposition. We see how, you know, I saw how they were visiting marketplaces. Even though he was working and they were seeing the work, they choose not to see it because maybe they were not in sitting closeness with him.
Yes.
So I know that he should be in that market.
Okay.
You should be talking to the ESCOs in that market. They know how to quell the nerves.
Talk
They
to
know
their
how to,
people.
because just before elections, I drove into, because I have to use the bridge to get into the my own community every day, the bridge in the trade fair market. And I was driving, I saw a poster of him and the market ESCO put it up in a very frail looking something like that. I was like, what's happening here? It was like, well, let's just put something so that the government power knows that we're there. But when it comes to voting, they are my neighbors. They don't vote like that. At the polling unit, all sorts of language and words flying about the personality of the governor. And I kept saying, give him his credit. This man, you know, they fought for that. You people were falling under that bridge on the crater now, just how many years ago. But nobody listened. So I think that it's now time to engage.
Okay.
The ESCO of that market.
So you're so right. I've always had that conversation of saying that this is a two-way street relationship where you give your feedback and you also as the electorate, the masses, the constituents, you also take your feedback. One of the things that I saw that made me uncomfortable during the campaign season with Governor Sanwo-Olu was that he heard the feedback where people were saying, we don't see you enough. And then we started seeing him in places. And people made that also a conversation to call him out. And yes, and no, not on the, they were like, oh, you see him at the mall now, you see him. But what do we expect? Do we expect to give feedback and the person should not work on that feedback? And when the person does, why don't we appreciate the fact that what you have asked for, the person is doing it? So also there's this conversation of we don't see him enough, we don't see him enough. And I realized throughout his, this first term until election season, we have seen him talk about the work that he's doing. Even when he cannot talk himself, you have his SA speak on his behalf. We were seeing the work that he was done. But all of a sudden, we went blind because of election season. So if we want to be honest electorates and masses, we too need to say exactly what our issues are based on fact. I want to also use Desmond Elliot, as an example of that rhetoric, false stories that were going around. Many people don't know Desmond Elliot as the representative for Surulere. They know him as the actor. They know him based off on the controversies that happened in 2020. They don't know the work that he's doing in that area. They don't care about the work that he's doing in that area. They haven't sat down with constituents to find out what work he was doing in the area. But we're just spewing out stories that someone would say, and you push it and push it. And no matter, what is even more shocking is that no matter if you sit with them and say, hey, but this is what he did. For me that I live here, this is what I say he has done. They will say, never. And then they call you names for wanting to stand on the truth that is different from their own perspective. So as we also need to be factual, if you have a problem with your representative, with your governor, let it be based on fact. If he comes into your area, is it the roads, is it electricity? Let it be the reason, that's the issues you should bring up. Because what happens is when you don't do that, you now open the door for the foolish conversations we're having about Igbo or Yoruba because we had refused to base it on the issues that matter.
Even the government. Let me come to even the what you said earlier about we always believe what we want to believe. In fairness, even to let me speak for myself. Governor Sanwo-Olu did not come to YourView for his entire period.
Yes.
I held that against him. And this man will be going to other stations. We'll be seeing you there back to back. I didn't like the fact that he didn't show up on YourView. I kept sending me messages, please, we need to bring the governor to the Finally, well, after he now came in January, we Yonu see one there because he has come on the show because we've been trying to get him on. We after how do you say Yonu in English? We softened towards him. Because before then we're like, what's wrong with this guy? We'll be going to that station, showing up there because he had the same thing we just said. Certain people feel that we've not seen him. He hasn't come to our area. We haven't seen government here. Once they show, or once the government shows up, we then begin to realize, he actually listens. But when that happens here, we don't care.
But I have always felt he listened. No, I cannot even sit on this table and say he
does not listen. Even when he did
because when I used to, any day I say a thing is wrong, and driving there the next day, I'm like, it's like governor is watching me. Yes. So I felt, yes, he should have been on the show, but I felt he was a very responsive governor. But what I see when I stay among the people I stay, and we're who we are. So I am Isako. Somebody else is Igbo. Somebody else is Yoruba. We're who we are. And we would always carry our sentiments with us, But what is the truth? You can't dispute that one. So if you want to hate a person, you would see the truth and you must.
Even though we're beefing, we know that he was working.
Say the truth.
Yes. Let's talk about the thoughts.
Give him his credit.
Let's talk about that for a moment because that's the reality. And I mean, there are other things that we'll discuss a bit later, but we all saw a lot of suppression, intimidation, as I said, not just in Lagos, across the country. What do you think the new government across the country can do to tame this community of young men? Because whether we like it or not, they are Nigerians, and they also live and breathe. They work in this same state, and all of us. So as much as we like to push them, like, I beg, those people, they are not those people. They are part and parcel of each of our states. So what do we do, therefore, what do we advise the governments doing, where these people are properly engaged in a way that we don't continue to fester this narrative, this divisive narrative across the nation? It's hurtful. Know how you and I can have a conversation. You might be Igbo, you might be Yoruba, and we can argue, we can debate. After that, we can still have a drink and hang out because we understand that it's beyond that. But sometimes it is difficult to get some of these people to have that conversation and still be civil.
It does not become a desperate conversation.
So how do we get them to that point where they can respect each other without causing intimidation and oppression across?
It's unfortunate that the political class have identified these people and have decided to use them as mercenaries, decided to use them as tools against the masses for their own personal interests. It's very unfortunate. And we can do little except identify those ones around us and find a way to empower them. If the government is actually working for us, they know these people because they use these people. They empower them with everything during the elections. They should identify them and put up a place to empower them. If these people are not empowered, they will also be used for little amount of money to keep disrupting. And the truth of the matter is they have the numbers, they have nothing to lose. They are the ones who can easily carry out violence and disrupt what we can logically access. So they have more of the power to elect for us compared to those of us who can logically reason out ideas and say, okay, this person will do the work and this person will not. They will just move according to their stomach infrastructure. And that's what the politicians have been capitalizing on. There's something that they do, ARA started up something for the good boys of Lagos to bring them in, harness their talent and all of that. A lot more people can get into that space. Find a way to remove these people from the streets, empower them, give them something to look forward to. So that when these 5K, 20K, 50K, 100K to go and destabilize elections come up, they know that, no, I'm better than this. I have a job, I have a business, I cannot be used. You, where are your own children? Send your children to go and do the dirty work because your children are actually abroad. So we, not just the government now, but we can begin to, in our areas, identify them and we can work together as a group. Maybe civil society, these are some of the things I expect them to be doing in taking these people off the streets.
All right, let me take this call from Yakub. Good morning, Yakub. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Well,
yes.
Good morning. Good morning to you all.
Good morning, sir.
I don't know if my line is clear this morning. And just yesterday you said you didn't hear me or something. Yeah, hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, fine. Thank you very much. Before I talk about actual Bola, let me quickly talk about Lagos State government because this is the government that's close to us. Yes. As a party man, even though some of us we are playing our role without even attending their party meeting, but in our own quality, we know how we campaign. But two things make it difficult for us this time around. Now that electorate believe that their vote is counted, I don't know, Moral, maybe you are hearing me, I don't know.
Yes, go ahead, very clearly.
Electorate know that their vote is now counting. Two things make it difficult for us this time around. One, I want Governor Sanwo-Olu to do these two things. Number one is to give a good reform to NURTW. That's number one. Because the mode of the operation makes it difficult to campaign in support of the government of the day. That is number one. Number two, the task force aspect of black man needs also to be reformed because they work as in fact, Morayo, I can tell you these people are moving without. So those two areas is very, very important thing for the governor Sanwo-Olu to work on. I will say that what talking about that Bola and then tinubu and then Governor Oduso can become a Senate president. Yes, I totally agree with Sister Nima. Why? Why? Because during the campaign, during the primary, after Bola and Tinubu won that primary, it is only Oduso come out that if our party wants to win this election, Bola and Tinubu should go for Muslim ticket, and then it stands with it. So if you look at the statistics now, Oduso is the most ranking senator from that very particular place. And then because our elected president is a Muslim, the vice president-elect is a Muslim, now we cannot go either way around to go and pick another Muslim to become a Senate president because they will look at APC as a Muslim party. So Oduso can stand out, and then I think they should give him that particular post.
Thank you very much. We focused a bit on Lagos State because we know we live here. However, it's important to note that violence and ethnic politics played out across the country. Yes. And it's important for us to also highlight all the other areas where ethnic politics was displayed, which we hope would never happen again and we can begin to move forward from it. What are the states? I know Kano, for example.
Okay.
Or one side we play to.
It's the Godfather thing that I think we would address.
I was just going to say that Kano State, the elections, how it went, we saw it was quite dramatic.
It was quite interesting.
Yes. People always say, oh, the North, they know how to play this game better, they understand politics better. I think that little clip that we saw explain to Nigerians what people are saying. It's just not in the... Because when people talk about the North, they think it's because they give birth to so many children. That's why they are better at it. But you see that they defend their vote. They follow it to the very end. And if they are certain about a particular candidate, they come up for that candidate. So APC being the incumbent, and everybody thought that they would be back. But the people of Kano State said no.
They gave 1 million
We are going
votes
back to NMPP.
to the opposition.
And they were able to, you know, get
themselves.
Yes, that they supported the person that they wanted. And for me, that's also what happened in Plateau State. During the presidential elections, they voted massively for LP. But when it came to the governorship election, they voted massively for PDP. Because I think people are saying to themselves, it's about the person.
Candidates.
The person that represents
Not the
us
party.
best. And for us in Plateau State, we believe that this person in PDP is going to represent our interests better than the APC that has been there. And even though we supported the LP picture, the big picture, but we don't think that the LP is strong enough, or, you know, the person that was there is the person that will represent us well. So Nigerians, that's why I feel that the Nigerian electorate is more educated, more exposed, and more in tune with what their rights are and what they want from leaders.
Let me take this call and I'll come back to you. Good morning, are you there?
Good morning.
Engineer Ibrahim, go ahead, you're live.
Actually, I like the way the president-elect spoke yesterday by trying to calm us down and all that. We pray that Nigerians will listen. So I hope we will listen. Because if we don't support the president-elect or any president, there's no way, even if he performs, we have the general final result, he didn't do well. Like this current president, I could see from many quarters, you know, a lot of hate, a lot of criticism. So, negative criticism, even when he did some things right. So that did not give room for us to really genuinely, you know, even our media, to really genuinely critique the president. Because when there are so much baseless criticism thrown at him, when the genuine one comes, they will just think, yeah, one of those things. So I think we need to change the way, even we criticize government. For instance, the governor Sanwo-Olu, he did well. Yeah, we saw that he did well. But because of the EndSARS issue, we called the army, we called the... And he used that just against, you know, the man.
Thank you,
I was
Ibrahim.
like, oh, they have done this, yeah.
Thank you, Ibrahim. So he brought that up, and I think it's another time for us to highlight this. The man, over and again, answered that question. Who gave the order? Who did this? I am not in charge of the army. That's not my area. He kept saying it. He said it during the EndSARS. He said it afterwards, even during the report, when he came out during the report, even during the campaign, he was asked repeatedly, but nobody was listening. They don't. So no matter that, it goes back to
So
no matter how many times we answer that question, that means this man did not call the army. But nobody's listening.
No, they wanted somebody's head to go for this. The people shouting and calling out wanted somebody to stone for the EndSARS. And he was the most engaging governor. In fact, I pitied him. There was this particular engagement that he had with the youth at Alausa, and the videos when they popped up, I was
Remember
like...
the Sorosoke?
It was the Sorosoke thing. The governor was addressing... there was one at the Lekki toll gate he was addressing, and they were stoning pure water. There was one at the Alausa he was addressing. I was like, other governors in other states, nobody has come out to talk to their people. The EndSARS thing started from Delta State. The Delta governor that was running for vice president after, he never addressed the youth.
The atrocities that happened in Anambra State.
He didn't address the youth. And so the youth were just like, no, we just must tear somebody
you came
down.
out to speak. It was not your own head.
He was engaging them in Alausa, and the band played a tune from the video, and the crowd took it. And I was like, and he struggled. I saw him, I was like, no, now. Then we now go to America and we say, God bless America. This same youth, now then give visa pass. Jackpot. They'll go there, they'll behave well. You know, I was just like, no, let him talk. And then the worst we were fearing now happened. I knew nobody would listen again. I personally felt, don't talk. You know, let the results of the panel report or whatever investigations come out, because there's nothing you can say that will change these people's mind. That's the way I felt about it. But I wanted to quickly address the issue of thuggery. You know, BC had said that, you know, the politicians use the thugs, but we are past where the politicians use the thugs on the polls. They use them for thuggery clearly. So for justice to happen, arrest the thug and their sponsors is easy now. Because now, if you are not accredited, your vote now, only one vote could determine who. No talks can come and multiply votes. The BVAS, the election petition in Oshu has shown us that if anybody has the powers to abuse the BVAS, he can stand the chance of losing his elections. The result, if you read the report of that election tribunal, I have an opportunity to read it. I was shocked that, so this is how BVAS even exposed a party that was
That's why
the
they use
winner.
intimidation instead, because they can't work with
So that intimidation and thuggery was well highlighted. Some people caught theirs on camera. Some people, you know, and every form of crime that happened during election is well covered under the Electoral Act. Let the law take its course. Let's have people as scapegoats. The way we parade small boys for Yahoo business as parade used to do. Let's parade people for thuggery and intimidation.
Let me take this call from Hassan. Good morning, Hassan. Are you there?
Good morning.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I would like to correct that last suggestion about this NSAS matter. Look, the NSAS issue, I live in the middle of Lekki. I was there live and direct. I saw what happened. The problem of NSAS is the problem of youth with the Nigerian police. And Nigerian police is not Lagos State police. So,
we lost Hassan. There was a point that you raised that I thought was also important, that we are now voting for people, not the party. Is that what we want? Is that the ideal? Because when we try to also look at other countries where they believe in the ethos and the ideology of a party, and they, no matter who is there, the Democrat says, I am a Democrat because I trust that the Democrats have selected this leader. The same way, Man United, it's not because Messi leaves Man U to one place. I'm not going to go and follow Messi. I'm following Man United. So is that the kind of politics we want in Nigeria, where we are focused on the person and not the party? Is it that our parties have not been able to get us to follow them individually?
So the thing is, our type of politics is not ideology-based. We haven't gotten there yet. And I don't know if we have any plans of getting there. And that's why even the politicians themselves can cross carpet easily. Once this one, I'm not able to get my interest here, I can quickly move to APC. APC not satisfy me, I find LP. LP not satisfy me, I go to PDP, you know, because there are no clear-cut ideologies. Now, the political parties need to start working on their ideologies if they want to institute proper party politics like you mentioned. So if I belong to APC, for instance, no matter who comes under the platform of APC, I will vote APC because I know that they have a structural ideology that anybody who sits in position of power will follow through. Do you understand? But we don't have that in Nigeria. So people are saying, I follow this party, I've seen what they have done over the years. They've not impressed me. Instead of sticking to this political party, why don't I find a candidate that I believe in? And also understand that a lot of us are not partisan. So some people have political parties that they belong to. Most of the electorates don't have. We're ordinary citizens who just want a better Nigeria. So it's easier for us to pick a candidate who we believe in. So the political party needs to do a lot more if they want to have this strength of Man U and
all right, let me ask this call, because APCs will tell you that they are progressives, and they want to move to that's probably the ideology. But let me take this call. Dayo, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
You're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you very much. I just want to contribute, especially to the one, this lady that's asking a question now. Said about Yoruba and Igbo in Lagos, asking Governor Sanwo-Olu to go and apologize to Igbo in Lagos. The Igbo actually...
Okay, I guess with the lines are having issues. So some will argue, well, we'll come back to the other, but let me let you.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, okay, we also even need to look at in Nigeria, I think at the presidential elections, it plays out differently. Presidential elections, I think people will go for party. But regional elections, state elections, people go for persons. Because for me, people are able to point out these people as, because this is grassroots, as those who represent them best. As the one, we know this one now, it works for us. But if you are in, let's say, Kebbi State, and Peter Obi is running, as Peter Obi was running, you don't really get to know much about Peter, especially with the way we play politics in Nigeria, where we only show up during election period. So you cannot really say, oh, this is the person of peterobi, or this is the person of kind of person of tinubu. Well, what are people say about this party? So you got that wave of this is a new party, different from the rest. Meanwhile, I'm like, okay, it's true. The ones that have been voting before, they have not made a difference. So there's someone different. At the presidential level, you would see Nigerians vote along party lines. That's what I think. But at the regional level, they know you and what you've done, what you've done. So it's easier for them to go with the person. But if we say that, even when we talk about American politics and how they have party, and just like BC said, it's more ideology-based. But I have seen during the Trump era where Republicans were saying they are like old school Republican and not new school Republican, because Trump was bringing a part of politics they didn't like, which was sort of inciting that division between what they call the regular America or the real Americans versus the the ones that are not real. And you had, even in that Republican, that people had always, they would say they will not, they were different from that. Democrats too will say, yes, I'm a Democrat, but I don't like these new issues that they are pushing ahead. Yes, this liberal, the transgender agenda, the gay agenda, it's not in keeping with my own Christian values, even though I'm a Democrat. So we'll see that. And because our country too were building and forming, this ideology, we'll someday get there. But I feel that we should never lose the fact that a person who can best represent us, no matter the party, is who we should always go for.